Hey, this is Evan Marquez, dating coach for smart, strong, successful women, your personal trainer for love. Welcome back to the Love You podcast, my place where you can learn everything there is to know about dating, relationships, sex, and men from a man's point of view. I've been helping smart, strong, successful women find love since 2003, and I am still not tired of it. This is really uh, an extension of my whole personality. Like I'm the luckiest, happiest married guy in the world, and somehow I get to help other people make better dating and relationship choices. So I'm very, very grateful to be here with you today. If you are a regular listener and you've not already subscribed on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, please take care of that now. Click on the plus button and make sure I'm in your feed. This spring, we've been doing 2 episodes a week, which is doubling our output for the same low price of zero. And so I hope you've been enjoying those episodes. In addition, I will mention at the top of the call before we start our session today that the Extraordinary Love Series continues. Go to www.extraordinaryloveseries.com, put in your name and email address. I am doing a monthly free lecture and live Q&A on a different dating and relationship topic every single month, specifically for high-achieving women who are looking to attract high-value men. Extraordinaryloveseries.com. Yeah, before we get into anything, this is going to be our second coaching session in a few weeks, and I'm really excited. I come into these sort of cold. I don't have that much prepared, and so I'm really eager to meet my guest today. Her name is Rhea. Thank you for joining me on the Love You podcast, Rhea.
Hi.
Hi. Very basic introduction. Why don't you just say a little bit about name, age, where you live, what you do, etc.
Okay. My name is, it's actually pronounced Ray.
All right. Thank you for
And
correcting me.
yeah, no problem. I live in LaGrange, Texas, a small rural town. I am a school psychologist, or almost a school psychologist. I graduate in May, because I go
Congratulations.
to school. Thank you. I'm a single mom and I'm 44. And was there anything else?
No, it's a great place to start.
Okay.
So single mom, how long were you married? How long you been divorced? How old's your kid?
I actually was not ever married. We split when she was 2.5,
Hmm.
and she is now 15.
Okay,
So I've been single since that, so about 14 years.
got it. Uh, is he in the picture? Does he help out at all? Or are you completely on your
Yes,
own?
he actually lives in a town about an hour away, and so we meet halfway, and she goes with him on the weekends and stuff like that. So,
Okay, got it. Um, all right, so let us begin. You wrote me an email this morning, so I haven't had a chance to absorb all the details of it. So why don't you share what your dating and a relationship dilemma is, and hopefully I could be of service to you today.
okay. So, I put in my email that my big thing, I listen to you, I watch your stuff and everything, and I feel like a lot of it is geared towards women who live in urban areas, and I live in a rural area. And I know one of the things that comes up a lot, like meeting for dates and things like that, is difficult because well, one, I live in a small town, so there's not a lot of privacy. So there's like four restaurants, so everybody's going to see where you go and all that stuff. And then when I do dating apps, which I haven't done in a long time because I haven't had great experiences with them, a lot of times, there are people in Austin, Houston that I talk to, and they always want me to come to them, and I don't really like that very much. And then like if they come here, there's been a couple times where I've been like pressured. Well, it's so late, I don't want to drive home and all that. And I'm like, well, I don't really want you staying with me. Do you see it? So it's kind of there's a factor here. And then like the local men are not, there's not a lot of choices. Like if you want choices and options, like when you get on the dating apps and you see people, you're gonna have to travel like at least an hour to, at least that's been my experience. So I guess just navigating like, because I know you're supposed to sit back and let the man do the work and stuff, but it's like hard because in those big cities, that's where all the stuff is to do and see and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Um, so I'm hearing you, and I understand you just rattled off a laundry list of
Sorry.
problems,
Sorry.
and I'm I want to validate all of those things. I don't think anything you're saying is wrong or silly or made up in your head. Um, how can I be of service to you today, given that everything you mentioned is true?
So I guess like what I see a lot is like I know you talked about like the on like Zooming, like Zoom dates and things like that. I know that was a big thing like when COVID happened and stuff. I will say I have not tried that so much, but I I guess what I'm saying, like I don't even know how to word it. Like how much do I give or how much do I insist like with the travel thing? Like is it a meet halfway thing or is it like I insist like no, you come to me or do I because I haven't dated in a while and I don't want to be alone forever. So I know I've got to get myself back out there. And with the options, it looks like online dating's really all I've got
Online
to try.
dating, we can complain about it, but it is pretty much the only game in town if you
Yes,
can't date people at work and live in a small town.
yes.
Even if you live in a big town, it's just meeting people these days is in a disconnected world is hard. So it's I think you're brave for putting yourself back out there again. I think all the structural problems that you've acknowledged are real. I think you don't have necessarily the strongest hand of cards to play. And so there's going to be some measure of compromise. I think the biggest thing that you probably have to do, maybe the greatest value for our conversation today, is to try to change your mindset around what's going on, since you
Okay.
can't change the facts of what's going on,
Right.
right? Um, it's glass half full versus glass half empty thinking. So when you say, it's virtually impossible, and here are the reasons it is virtually impossible. Slim pickings in my town. The guys in other towns don't want to drive out here, which makes sense. If you're a guy in a city, why would I have to drive a couple hours to go on a date when I could go 15 minutes and go on a date? That's a very reasonable thought for a guy to have,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so if you're dating exclusively long distance, you're usually going to get uh, guys who aren't necessarily grounded and aren't necessarily in great relationship shape. You're going to get a lot of sort of tire kickers. It's easy to have a long distance relationship. You don't have to put in much effort. So you become the long distance person, but you don't
Hmm.
become the girlfriend. And so let's start with what's local. Um, your correction, sorry, I'm fumfering. Your observation that I tend to talk to smart, successful women in cities is true. Those are my clients. Those are the people who pay me, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense to talk to the people in New York and LA and San Francisco and Austin and et cetera. Um, uh, but for the most part, dating advice is just dating advice. There are unique things that people in small towns face. There are unique things that women in their 60s face. There are unique things that Black women face. But that doesn't change the larger thing. Those are just individual use cases. So I don't want you to lose the big picture because well, my unique situation is so different than these women in these cities. Everybody's still dealing with the perception that there are no good men,
Yes.
the difficulty to meet people, the competition for other people, the insecurity of being a middle-aged mom who maybe didn't have great parental role models. All these things kind of are a through line no matter where you live, what you do, how old you are.
Right.
So I want to focus on that rather than some sort of magic trick that's going to make great men descend from the heavens onto your little town in Texas.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm thinking of individual clients that I've worked with over the years,
Okay.
who lived in small towns. And you could see their faces up on my website if you go to the Love You Love Stories section of my website. So let's start there. That's how I know that this is not hopeless,
Right.
right? Is because I helped a woman in the Yukon, right?
Oh
I
wow.
make the same joke always. Population one moose.
Yes.
She found the guy. It was early in my career. It was 20 years ago. She found the guy from Minnesota, Match.com, who moved up to be with her and her moose. in the
Okay.
tundra. So that's I've seen that happen, right? There's a woman on website. She lives in a town, I think population 17,000 in rural Vermont, 67 years old, right? She was going there to retire in the country, and then she realized she was lonely and didn't think she could find anybody, and sure enough, she's married right now.
Okay.
So one more story.
Okay.
This didn't lead to marriage, but this is a woman who lived in Winnipeg, Canada, which is a city, but it's still, you know, very north, and she's blind, and so it makes dating extremely hard for her, meeting people extremely hard for her. She dated online for a year and worked with me for a year, and maybe only got a couple dates in that time, but one of them turned out to be her boyfriend, right? So to me, there's always a lid for every pot. And so unless you have actually dated everybody in your town, and I don't believe you have,
No.
it stands to reason, logically, which is different than emotionally, that there's probably a good guy in your town who's a divorced single dad with a teenage kid who has no idea you exist,
Right.
is wondering why it's so hard, is writing to women in Austin wondering why they're not leaping at the chance to come to small town. There's probably a male version of you out there that you don't even know about, is my guess. Does that
Probably.
does that sound possible to you?
Yes.
Right. And that's the thing that I'm banking on, right? Is we don't even know what's right underneath your nose. If the biggest problem you have is, oh, if I go to the same restaurant regularly, people are going to talk. Well, yeah, that's the downside of being in a small town. But
Yeah.
unless you're going to pick up and move to the big city, which I
Right.
doesn't sound like is in the cards for you,
No.
so you have to play the cards that you have, which is, okay, I'm in this small town. How am I going about dating within a, I don't know, X mile radius before it actually gets long distance, before we worry about Houston and Austin? If you put a compass point in your town and went 45 minutes outside of it, right? The accompanying small towns,
Yeah.
does that increase the potential population? So we're not
Yeah.
going to the big city where there's a lot more people. But if you just dated within a 45-minute radius, which is no longer long distance, is it possible that we can get you a love life without having to take this lottery ticket that one of these guys with a million options in their city doesn't see you as a backup option, which you've pretty much told me they always do.
Yes.
And then we don't have to figure out these big logistical things about who's going to drive to whom and whether they're going to stay the night.
Right.
So maybe by narrowing your search, this is what happens when people live in rural areas. They feel forced to expand their search, but then you go online and you're looking at people like, and it's just like everybody, and that doesn't help. So with every other metric, I always tell women to expand. Oh, I'm looking for a guy 40 to 50. I said, well, what happens if he's 51? What happens if he's 52? Let's expand. I like guys who are tall. Well, what if he was 5'9"? Is that the worst thing in the world? So I'm always asking people to expand their searches, except for one thing, geographical distance, because that is one thing that actually matters. The difference between a 5'9" guy and a 5'11" guy is negligible. The difference between a guy 10 minutes from your house and 2 hours from your house, huge.
Yes.
So what if you just committed to doing one small thing and setting up an online dating profile and setting your search criteria for whatever you think is reasonable driving distance where it doesn't become long distance?
Okay. Yeah, because
Are,
that's
are,
what
are you
I,
open to it? Because again, I'm not.
yes, because like when I have done online, like that is what I've done, like put 100-mile radius on there, which is, yes, a big expansion, but because the thought in my head was, well, then that means there's more people available to possibly meet. But then like all the problems you said and I said come into
Right.
play.
Right. So you're opening up to that. So one of the I don't know, tensions of this method of dating is that there's contradictory information, and we have to make it's like a lot of life. We have to make good decisions with contradictory information. So yes, going 100 miles wide gets you into all those big cities, but all those men in all those big cities have more women locally,
Yeah.
right? To the point that you're never going to be top choice to someone when they have infinite options that are closer to them, right?
Right.
And it creates a different sort of structural problem. Even if you did connect, now to get together for a weekend requires a lot more planning than it would. And with a 15-year-old kid, you don't have to micromanage them either. So where there's more freedom for you to have love in your life. So if we just eliminate the long distance problem, well, now we can date locally, and we've all those objections about the guys in Houston and Austin go away.
Yes.
So then what's the big problem? If we remove the long distance guys and we just date locally, what's the problem?
I have I don't know if it's me or what, but I tend to, it's happened several times, where guys are and seem interested. There's a lot of green flags. Well, I say green flags, but like, and then I hear whether I sleep with them or not, then I hear I'm not ready for a relationship. And then the next thing I know, they're in one with somebody else.
Mhm.
And that's happened. And I've gotten hurt and my heart broken a couple of times really bad because I was really wanting something to work with that person. So,
Wait, you're telling me that you dated someone who was nice to you but fell for someone else?
mhm,
That's called dating.
yeah, well, that's true.
Remember, I've not been married forever. Seems like it, but I've been married for 17 years, but I went on 300 online dates. Do you know how many times I had the same experience that you just talked about? I don't have enough fingers and toes to count. The Because that's the nature of dating. And I'm teasing you, but not teasing you. It's very serious. Everybody I like doesn't want me. All the people who want me, I don't like.
Absolutely. That's what happens.
Yes, that's the definition of being single. That's
Yes,
you and every single man and woman out there. It's the definition of it.
that's
Because
true.
if you liked the person who liked you, you would not be single. So, of
Yes.
course, everybody who wants me, I don't want. Everybody I want doesn't want me. So, what we do is try to find a way to put those two circles together into a Venn diagram. And in the Venn diagram, there's a 10% overlap. Now, 90% of the guys who like you, you're not going to be interested in. And 90% of the guys you're interested in are not going to like you. As long as we've got 10% overlap, there's possibility.
Okay.
And the 10% is those are the men that you should be going out with. Right? It's not trying to
Yeah.
convince someone that you're worthy of them. Everybody engages in aspirational dating. There's not a man out there who doesn't take a crack at some 27-year-old bikini model that he's got no chance with. Why not? It's free. But is he getting her? He's not. So a
Yeah.
lot of people spin their wheels trying to date up. And that's what these guys are discovering, right? They're getting rejected whether you know it or not, 95% of the time. So I really want you to get that what you're talking about. It doesn't take away from your pain, but we're talking about something that is a universal experience that's actually worse for men than for women in terms of the amount of attention they get.
Hmm.
If you just Google ChatGPT, a percentage of men's, swipes that are responded to on Match or Tinder, it's less than 5%. So they're getting rejected by 95% of people.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I'm not saying that we should ever compare each other's pain. I am saying that this thing that you experience, I like someone more than they like me. You actually have to normalize that experience instead of, oh my God, it's too painful. I can never take it again. It's That's going to happen again and again and again and again. And I'm going to do that to men again and again and again, where some guy texts me, takes me out. He's nice enough. I go out with him once or twice. I'm not feeling it. I cut him off. You don't, you're not a bad person for doing that. I know you're not a bad person for going out with a guy and realizing he's not your guy.
Yeah.
He leaves with that feeling. I really liked her. She didn't like me. Maybe I'm hopeless. Maybe no one was ever going to love me. Maybe. Could you imagine that you're doing that to another man? Isn't that horrible?
I never even thought about that.
Of course
I
not,
never
because,
even thought about that.
right, we all pay attention to who rejects us, but not the men you reject, right? Not the 90% of guys that you pass on the dating apps, right? You don't
That's
spend too much time thinking of their feelings when you're swiping left.
no.
And I'm not saying you should. I'm saying that this
Right.
is the very nature of dating. And guys, for the most part, are more used to rejection than women. And so women, I mean, there's an old story that I tell in my Love You course of a client. I said, hey, your homework between now and 2 weeks from now when we talk is to get online, and this is oldmatch.com, get online every day, do a search, right, and initiate contact with one new guy a day for 14 days. And at the end of 14 days, my prediction is about 1/3 of those guys is going to write back. And there'll be men you chose, not men who chose you, men you chose so you know they're good. All right. So you'll be rejected by 2/3 of them, but 1/3 of them will be in play. And you're going to have 5 guys in play. Now you've got options. Came back 2 weeks later. She said she did what she was told, but we went in. Turns out she only logged into the dating site about 3 times in 14 days. And she did write to one guy a day. And one guy took down his profile and didn't even read her email. One guy wrote her a polite rejection letter. And one guy said, no, thank you. So I misspoke. The one took his profile down, one said no, thank you, and one I think she was still talking to. But the whole point was she initiated contact with 3 men. One of them rejected her. And she's like, I'm done. I can't take this. It to me, it just shows the different tolerance she had for rejection, where a guy swipes on 100 women to get 5 of them to match.
Gotcha. I see.
So I'm not saying it's easy, but kind of what in life is easy,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
You've done some
Yes.
extraordinary hard things. What you do right now, school, hard, not
Hmm.
an easy job, and by any stretch of the imagination, doing important, good work. And so if you can just recognize, hey, everything this guy is telling me is true. He's not cleaning it up for me. I'm not telling you that most of these guys are good guys. I'm not telling you anything other than what you already know. That if you go online for theoretically a half hour a day and you're having conversations in various forms with 7 to 10 guys, and this one is a loser, and this one is a liar, and this one is a flake, and this one's a perv, and this one is really excited about you, but he's too aggressive. We need one to take
Yeah.
out on Saturday for you to have a love life. That's my whole formula. Get online for a half hour a day, talk to 7 to 10 guys. One of them will be a good guy, 9 of them will be losers. And so if you believe me that you can theoretically, even in your town, get yourself one date a week, right? Because you're not just dating your town, you're dating 45 minutes. So it's not
Right.
long distance. Do I think you could find love? Absolutely.
Yeah. I never thought of it that way.
Well, share more. I know I've been doing all the talking, but I really want to hear your thoughts.
No, I just because like I know I'm a good and I know I'm a good person. I know I got a lot to offer, and I'm always like they never get to know me. They never take the time, and then they're off already dating somebody else. And but I never really thought of myself of doing that too, or thought of it as that is the way dating is. Because in my mind, it's you meet someone, you'll start talking, things are going well, and then you go. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know if that comes from like that's how my parents' relationship was. Like they met each other, they started dating, and they married very young, and they've been together ever since. And that was, and their siblings did the same because maybe it was a different time period. I don't know. I just that's what I grew up knowing, and so that's what I thought I guess was supposed to happen. Does
Well,
that make sense?
yeah, but there's supposed to happen, and then there's what's good for you, right? There's a huge difference between what is easiest and what is best. I was trying to explain this to my son yesterday. It didn't go very good, right? What's easiest for my son is to get home from school and spend 3 hours on YouTube Shorts. What's best for him is certainly not that,
Yeah.
right? And so when it comes to dating, uh, the thing that you thought was the way it should be is not best practices for successful long-term relationships, right? There's a timeline. So a good timeline before a guy becomes your boyfriend is 4 to 6 weeks. If you meet a guy because you're lonely and he's lonely and you make a connection on a first date and you sleep together on the second date and now you're boyfriend, girlfriend, what do you know about the person who's now your boyfriend? Nothing.
That's
And you've
true.
just chosen him as your guy? Like you just chose this random from the internet who you spent a total of 4 or 5 hours with, and now he's your guy, and you're gonna keep your fingers crossed that this is till death do you part.
Mm,
All right. So God bless the people who got married and it turned out to be a good decision, 50
yeah.
years ago. Um, we have enough data and evidence to know that that's not the best path. You want to wait 4 to 6 weeks to figure out if a guy is worthy of being your boyfriend, worthy of sleeping with you. You want to wait 2+ years to figure out if he's worthy of being your husband instead of marrying him in that first year because it feels right. And the data bear that out. You move too fast, my metaphor, if you're driving 100 miles an hour on the freeway, you're very likely to crash the car or miss your exit.
Yeah, that's true. And I do like I see a lot of people like that's the way they do it. And it seems like it looks like it's successful, but I will admit that some of the like my friends and stuff who do that, like once they start talking about their relationship, you can tell it's not really a healthy,
Yeah.
good or fun relate. Like I have so many friends who like talk about how they don't sleep with like have sex with their husbands
Yeah.
and I'm just like, what are y'all talking about? Like someone who doesn't get it, I would just I would do it all the time if I could, because I have that person there that I love and I want to be with and you have it available to you. Like for me, I don't have it available to me at a regular basis. Like it blows my mind that they deny it all the time and I just
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into
understand.
the complexities of your friends' relationships about the value of denying sex or the lack of desire for sex or whether it's a
Yeah.
punishment or um, I think the point is slow and steady tends to win the race.
Hmm.
And when someone goes online and says, I'm lonely, I'm looking for a husband, and it turns into swipe, text, meet, hook up, and then just get on this ride, you don't even know where the ride's going,
Yeah.
right? So there's got to be a better methodology. There's got to be a better path. And I would just tell you that in a healthy relationship, both people are going into it eyes wide open, and they're not making any big rash decisions at any point in time. So that's why it's always comfortable, and that's why they're less likely to make a mistake, is because they didn't go so fast with anything. Um, and it doesn't, it's probably even harder if it's not a cultural norm. It's definitely a cultural norm in different places to move fast, but without even judging it, um, you could probably do your own Googling um, about divorce rates in different places, and I feel like you don't have to be an East Coast liberal to make different choices
Yeah.
with love that are more based on what's going to work best, what's going to serve me best. Is it going to be, you know, quickie marriage to the next cute guy who comes along who shows interest in me, right? You may be
Yeah.
you may be lonely, but you need to choose your guy. You can't just be chosen by the first guy who comes along who looks good on paper and pays attention to you. You are, I'll remind everybody, you're the CEO of your love life. And most interns are not qualified for the job. What's the best way to tell if they're qualified for the job? Give them something to do and give them time to do it. Not whether they do it once, but whether they do it over and over and over. It's sustained excellent. Every relationship starts off good. That's how people get married. That's how people get divorced. At one time, these people claimed to love each other, but it really wasn't love. It was lust and attraction. And then when the lust and attraction wore off, they're like, "Oh, I'm dating a lazy fuck."
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think it's going to be fast. I don't think there are millions of options. I also don't think you need millions of options. You need one guy like you who is not meeting you right now. And he's not. He's not meeting you
Yeah.
right now because you're not really dating.
Right.
So if you can kind of just get over that hump and just realize, okay, this is the nature of the beast. It's high volume, low quality, right? If I can get myself one date a week, sometime in the next 6 months, I think I can probably find a guy that I like. And that's my prediction is if you can date with consistency, you can find a guy that you like, who likes you, and we'll never have to have this conversation again.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, that's it. We're
Yes.
good.
Yeah, it really, yes. Like you definitely opened my eyes to some things that I didn't think about or realize. So,
Okay, this is important. It's emotional stuff, and sometimes all of us, when we're too close to it, it's really hard to step back and get a greater objectivity about it. So, thank you for being open to this. I really, really appreciate you. I'm sorry for pronouncing your name wrong. That's my embarrassment.
no,
It is
no, it's
Ray.
it's my whole life. It's something I've dealt with, so don't worry. It's
I sh
not.
I should know better. I screwed that up. Um, my name is Evan Mark Katz. This is the Love You podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on Apple or Spotify. Say something nice about us. Make sure you sign up for sorry, it's not the Extraordinary Love Series. It's extraordinaryloveseries.com. Free webinar series with live Q&A. And finally, if you want coaching, the kind of coaching that we got to do today, go to evanmarkkatz.com/now and book a time to talk with me. And I look forward to connecting with you and helping you overcome your obstacles, overcome your fear, and find the path to lasting love. Thanks a million. Talk to
All
you
right,
soon.
thank you. Bye.